Hello, niece and nephew. My name is Uncle Roger. Today we going to review video sent by Star Anish. Hiya! No, 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 no! You pedal faster. You put it on a faster gear. Fuyo! Look at Star Anish pedal. I have always wanted to do that on YouTube on a video, and it's done. It's out of my system. Now let's get on with today's topic. Now let's find out why the hell was Discount Uncle Roger so damn pissed about this guy's riding. First of all, this person is riding in what I would like to call as, or not me, it's not a personal opinion, this is science, what people call as low cadence or high gears. Now, here's why Uncle Roger is really pissed, and so am I. First of all, when you're doing this, you're doing a lot of damage to different things. One is your body, of course. Second is the bike, the mechanics of it, the chain, and all the wear and tear components. And third, you're also doing a little bit of damage to your self-esteem. But first of all, I want to establish who should be watching this video. Right, this video is absolutely meant for beginners. Okay, and the reason I'm making this video is because there's a lot of information that does not reach the beginner rider, and hence they get into a lot of pitfalls. Like, for example, this particular rider, when I met him, obviously I did not talk to him and convey the information that I'm about to convey on this video to him, because I was doing my own ride, he was doing his own ride, and it's not always possible to have these conversations while you're out on the road. And that is why I've now created multiple versions of Anish through this video. So each link is a different Anish, different version of Anish that you can share and get this information out there. And there's also like a special offer that I'm going to put out there, and specifically for Bangalore riders, ideally for my Mooners, but then I'm also extending it out to the other Bangalore riders. And that's going to be introduced a little later once I've established all the basics right. So 3 kinds of damages that's happening to this person. One, this is purely mechanical, and I love talking about this because I come from a bike mech kind of a background, where this person is wearing out his chain and his cassette prematurely. It's just going away before it should. Ideally, a chain should have about 5,000 kilometers of life before you have to replace it, and a cassette should last you 3 different chains, which is 15,000 kilometers. Now, this person is going to find that his gears are not shifting properly, and he's going to take it to the bike shop, most likely where he bought it from, and then give it a service, and then the technician is going to fiddle around to try and tune. And if the technician is going to be smart, he or she is going to put in a scale and check if the chain has stretched out. And once the chain is stretched out, the technician is going to tell you that, hey, change the chain. And you're going to be pretty pissed. If you're this person, you're going to be pretty pissed, saying that this is a new bike, I shouldn't have to change the chain, because chains don't come cheap. And while you're settling that argument with the technician then tells you that, hey, you might also have to change your cassette because you've been riding it while it's worn out. So now that's 2 things you have to change, and ideally you shouldn't have to change, but then you have no clue why this is happening, and you then end up saying that cycling is really expensive, the parts are too costly, and then you start talking shit about various things on different forums. So that's one thing, but then you fail to understand where you're going wrong. What happens is, when you are riding at these high gears, everything is stretched. The chain stretches out. It's under a lot of load, a lot of tension, and it can take that load and tension, but not every time. Ideally, your chain has to go through the entire range of the cassette, not just stay at the small ring at the back and the big ring in the front. No, if that's what you're doing, that's why your chain's wearing out. Your bike's chain is wearing out faster. So that's a mechanical standpoint where, and also an economical standpoint, because you have to change chains and they don't come cheap, chain and cassette. Now, from a biomechanics point of view, this is to do with your body. Whenever you're putting such high loads on any kind of joint, it's going to wear out. Every joint has some kind of lubrication inside, and if you're putting so much load on it constantly, then it is going to wear out. And that's not good. And the worst part of it is, you won't realize it's wearing out as it's wearing out, but it's going to hit you someday in a few months or few years, and then it's already a little too late. Because yeah, not, most riders don't do any strength and conditioning riding. You just get on a bike and you ride, because that's in itself exercise. You don't think that I need to exercise to be able to ride a bike. So that's okay. I mean, you stay in that zone, that's cool. But then because you're not doing that, it's going to hamper you a lot more. So that's one point of the biomechanics. The other point of the biomechanics is when you're grinding your gears, like this really high gears, you're not utilizing your entire leg muscles. You have multiple leg muscles, multiple muscles inside your leg. And when you're doing this, you're usually just pressing down on it, which is just your quads working. And usually, if you're somebody like this, it's your quads that cramp when you're, after a point of riding. And what's happening there is you're going to utilize a lot of the front of your muscles and very little of the leg, the back, or the muscles at the back of your leg. So what's happening there? You're going to tire out one part of the leg, and the other part of the leg is completely underutilized, which means you're going to, in overall, get tired a lot faster because your load is not being shared. It's like having one guy build a 10-foot wall versus three guys build a 10-foot wall. If it's just one guy building the wall, he's going to take a lot more breaks, or a lot more frequent breaks, as opposed to the three guys building the wall, because they're going to get much more work done and they're all sharing the load. Therefore, it can also create much bigger problems like muscular imbalance, where you have really voluminous quads but no hamstrings visible at all. Like, it's there in there, but we don't see it visible out there. So that's from a biomechanical point of view. Now here's the nutritional point of view, where again this comes down to the point where things end before they have to end prematurely, or you don't last as long as you would want to last. Sorry, children. Okay. Back to the topic. From a nutritional point of view, your body has like this much fuel, okay, but then this much fuel is not always used at the same time. This much fuel is also not the same kind of fuel. There's like this fuel, and then there's like another kind of fuel, and all of these fuel systems are working together, but they're not at the same amount of importance or prominence. Now, at different intensities of work, different fuel systems work a little bit more and different fuel systems work a little bit less. When you're at a high intensity workload, like what this person's doing, I mean, you're grinding your gears, your heart rate really elevates. And at that point, at that particular set of heart rate, or that range of your heart rate, you're going to burn a certain kind of fuel. Now, unfortunately, that kind of fuel that you burn at high heart rates is not available for a long duration. It's available in very little quantities. And then for it to refuel takes much longer duration. So then as soon as you finish burning it, you have nothing there. And since you're staying in that same zone, there is no fuel supply because there is nothing left there. So you end up having to stop the work much before you have to ideally want to stop. On the other end of the spectrum, when you're doing low intensity work or medium intensity work and your pedals are spinning a lot more freer and your heart rate is not so high, you're burning another fuel system, which is fat and carbohydrates and a bunch of other stuff, which is called the aerobic fuel system, where there's oxygen involved. The other was anaerobic, and I'm not going into the details on this video. We'll be making more videos for that. So in the aerobic fuel system, you're basically burning a fat and carbohydrates, and at that point, essentially, in theory, everybody has a lot of fat to burn. And the way this fuel system burns, it burns, but then it also refills. And it's actually refilling a little faster than it's burning, which means in theory, you have an unlimited source of energy if you're working at this intensity. Right? So if you're doing long distance rides, like really long distance rides, or even if you're new to doing long distance rides, don't stay in this zone, because you're going to empty out your fuel capacity and then you're going to be done. You're going to start cramping, you're going to have to deal with bonking, and then you have to wait for it to recharge, which is going to stretch the overall time that you take to do the ride, as opposed to when you're staying in medium to low intensities where you have enough fuel, you already have enough fuel, and that fuel is also being replenished before it burns out. So if you have 10 units in a tank and you're burning 8 units per minute, you're already getting another 12 units. So 8 is less burning, 10 is your reserve, and 12 is the supply. So supply, demand, usage, you get the point. So that's why you need to look at pedaling at a different intensity. Now this intensity is not wrong completely, but then this intensity is for people who are doing certain kind of work only. If you're working on sprints and if you want to work on high power sprints, then stay here. But if you want to do distances and if you want to do them efficiently without having to bonk and get your cramps and then collapse and die or come close to death, then stay at this intensity, because you have enough efficient fuel to burn here and you don't even need to like really stop and reload every now and then. Here's the kicker: the stuff that you're burning here is fat. So if you're somebody who's been riding for a year and you've been like riding so many miles that you shove those miles into people's faces and yet you're not losing weight, you're not losing fat. You did start losing fat at the beginning and then suddenly you've saturated and you have to like not wear cycling jerseys because you have like this paunch sticking out, and every time there's a group picture you have to like you can't even say are you done because you're losing breath. And if that's you, then that's because you're not doing low intensity work at which you burn fat more than anything else. Okay, so that's the nutrition point of view. Now how the hell do you measure all this? Right, so to understand or to be easy on your biomechanics, you got to increase your pedal rate, which will then activate multiple number of muscles on your leg and share the load, right? And to be able to share the load, you need to get yourself a cadence sensor, right? What a cadence sensor does is it basically attaches to your left pedal, somewhere close to the left pedal, and then each time that sensor goes around along with the crank arm, it tells you what is the RPM that you're pedaling it at. All right. So what this person is doing in the video is really low RPM. What you want to be in slightly high RPM. Yeah, lots of math says it should be around 90 RPM or higher or around that figure. But that's also a little subjective to a lot of different things like personal flexibility and how much food you've had and how much energy you have in your head as well, or how enthusiastic you're feeling about that particular ride. So this person is probably doing 45, 60. He's not even doing like anywhere close to 70. But then if you stay at 80 to 90, then you're working at a certain intensity where multiple muscles are contributing to share that load, and then that again makes sure that you last longer. I don't know why I'm bringing this last longer thing, but I think that somehow pop culture allows people to identify with that scenario. But strangely, that's only to men. What do women want? Fuck if I know what women want, but do women want to ride for longer? Sorry, children. Okay, back to the topic. So cadence sensor allows you to tap into being in the right RPM so that you employ multiple muscles. So you share the load and then you endure the long distance. Now, I've had people come and tell me that, no, but I ride like this very defensively. So I ride at high gear because it gives me more workout. I can understand where you're coming from, but that's fucking wrong, because that's not giving you more workout throughout the spectrum. It's just giving you more workout where you exhaust yourself faster. I mean, when you go to the gym, you don't start with 100 kilos weight, right? You build up to it, and occasionally you do a 50 kilo weight, and then you do 10 reps of 100 kilos and then 50 reps of 50 kilos. And that's how you make sure your entire body is balanced out. And in order to measure the amount of effort you're putting and what zone you're working at, what fuel source you're burning and all that, you need to get yourself a heart rate monitor. Now, the way heart rate works, I'm going to simplify this as much as I can because this is going to be a whole other video in itself, just heart rate. So imagine that your heart rate can go from 1 to 10. And when your heart rate is between 1, 2, and 3, it's burning a certain kind of fuel. 4, 5, 6 is burning a certain other kind of fuel. 8, 9, and 10 is going to burn another kind of fuel. 8, 9, 10 is the high intensity work. So for you to know which kind of fuel you have in your body and which kind of fuel you want to burn, and are you really burning that kind of fuel, you need to get yourself a heart rate monitor, which will tell you which zone are you riding at. Simple. Now, what zone does what work? It's very simple to calculate that. That's going to be another topic, but I'm going to leave a link to a calculator below where you have to type in your age and then it tells you your heart rate, your maximum heart rate, and then it also then further calculates what zones does what. It's a very nice article as well. So if you're in zone 1, you're burning this and you're getting these benefits. If you're in zone 2, you're doing this and you're getting these benefits, blah blah blah. It goes all the way up to zone 5. So far we know what a cadence sensor and a heart rate monitor can do for your riding. This is what a cadence sensor looks like. I do not have a heart rate monitor right now. These things nowadays come with the ability to connect to devices using Bluetooth or ANT+. So you can either use a cycle computer to connect this to this and your heart rate monitor, or you can even connect these to your phone using, let's say, the Wahoo app that allows you to connect Bluetooth and plus devices, and you can see the data while you ride, and then you can stay in the ride zone that you want to stay at. Now, I'm making this video entirely so that I can put the right information out there, make sure that your riding is a lot safer, because I've seen people who've ridden in the wrong cadence for too long in terms of time and distance, and have fucked up their knees, or in general just got injured really bad, and I've had to give up cycling altogether. And you guys don't know this, or you riders don't know this, but your friends miss you because you don't ride. You don't know because you don't show up, but then there are friends of yours, other riders, who miss you because you can't ride anymore. This whole series is about making your riding a lot more efficient, a lot more beneficial, a lot more safer, injury-free, so to speak. And that's the reason why I had a chat with the good people at Malin. Malin is a brand that makes cycle computers and chest monitors and sensors and a bunch of different stuff. And these guys are by far, I think, the most affordable manufacturers of these devices available in India at this point. And they also offer a 6-month warranty. So I've researched other brands, and either they were too expensive or didn't come with a warranty. And therefore, I had a chat with the good people at Malin. These guys are my friends, and I'm not doing this as a paid promotion or something. So I had a chat with them, and they agreed that they'll give a special price for a bundle where you get a heart rate monitor, you get a cadence sensor, and you also get a speed sensor, which allows you to do all of these things in the control environment of your home. Or let's say you go outside and your phone GPS fails, then your speed sensor is basically still taking the readings of distance and time and all of that. So that package is actually available at 5,346, 5,400, let's just say 5,400. And you can sign up for that price on the link in the description below. It's a pre-order based scenario, so you have to pay up in front, and Malin is offering me this price because I'm getting them a certain number of orders. Otherwise, this order is never going to be honored at this price anywhere else. In the continuing episodes of this series of Better Cycling, you're going to get more videos on how to use these things more efficiently, meet the right targets that you want to do, last longer, sorry children, on the bicycle. Last longer on the bicycle, and basically just get more out of your riding and do it safely. That's the whole goal of the series called Better Cycling. This is exclusive for people in Bangalore, ideally just for Mooners, but then I thought, this is good stuff. This is an offer that, you cannot refuse. And I've also committed to making a full series out of bettering everybody's cycling. So we're going to start with something, and it's going to start here. You have to meet me and collect this. This is not going to be home shipped. It's just going to come to the lab in a big box. So you got to come show up on a ride and then collect it with me in person. Ideally, then I can also help you install it while you're taking the item from me. Peace.